Hi, everybody. Welcome to Chapter 2, Section 4. This is the last section of Chapter 2, and we're moving along real quick here. Right after this, you're going to have your study guide. Well, you're going to have to do the rise and the fall of the Soviet Union Q&A, and then you're going to have your study guide, and then we're going to take the exam. So be ready for that. Getting started here. The first thing I want to talk about is we've been talking about a bunch of different economic systems. We've kind of covered this in our government section with our islands, if you remember our island projects a little bit. But let's get back into what each of these economic systems means and how they kind of started. So the first one we're going to talk about is pure socialism. Okay, when we talk about socialism, we talk about private property. There's little private property. Most of it is going to be owned by the government and the state, and the state virtually owns all the factors of production, such as even owning the big factories. Okay, so when people talk about socialism in the United States of America, they're talking about government intervention in the marketplace, the government intervention when it comes to big businesses, taxing and regulating them, and a lot of tax on private property. The government then attempts to manage production and the distribution of goods, so they would manage those businesses and how they're producing it. When we take a look at the Marxist view, socialism grew out of protest during the 1800s, during the Industrial Revolution, when big businesses were abusing the people, okay? And unions started to come to rise, and therefore socialism started to come into the minds of people, and even in the United States of America. A guy by the name of Karl Marx viewed history as a continual struggle between various groups or classes in society. Marx saw specific struggles between two different parties. Number one, the first party were the capitalists. These were the owners of the land, the machines, and the factories. These were the big business owners. These were the rich people in the country. And they continually abused the workers, who he called the proletariats. Know those two things for your exam. Also know Karl Marx. So the capitalists were the owners. Think of capitalism. Think of the capitalists, meaning businesses. They're on top. They're capitalists. And the proletariats, where they're going to be then likewise their workers. So the capitalists versus the proletariats, the businesses versus the workers. The capitalists then exploited the proletariats or the working class and used them unfairly, gave them unfair labor, made them work for 12 to 18-hour shifts. The value of goods depends on how much labor was used to produce them, and that was what Marx strongly believed. When capitalists sold the goods, Marx believes that it took the profit right out of the workers' pockets and it went right to the capitalists. Marx believed capitalism was doomed to fail. Therefore, the word capitalism comes from capital, the capitalists, the big business owners, capitalism, competition for capital, okay? And that's where kind of that word came from. Marx believed capitalism, like I said, was doomed to fail because it was unfair. The people or the workers would not get their fair share. In fact, Marx believed they were the ones producing it. They should be the ones that were splitting the money evenly with them. Therefore, Marxism came from this. And you see a couple different guys up there. You see Joe Stalin. You see a couple different Lenin. Okay, Lenin is the guy in the middle. Okay, pure communism, an idealized system with no need for government. We talked about this during our island presentations. When you talk about pure communism and Marxonian communism, there's no need for government. Government should not have total control. The power should come from the workers. The system would eventually evolve into pure communism. Workers would contribute to society to all their full abilities. In return, they would only take from society what they needed. The workers then are actually the foundation of the government. The government would have no to little power at all. So it'd be like taking a pie, and everybody would, under their free will, go to work evenly, get paid evenly, no matter what their jobs are, take from the governmental pie evenly. And therefore, there would be no need for police. There would be no need for governmental intervention. There'd be no need for any of this stuff. It's like the pure utopian society. Now, obviously, we all know that that's quite impossible. So these couple people took the idea that Marx had and put what we called a command economy tagged onto it, like Lenin and these guys, okay, Hitler. Since Marx in the 20th century, socialism has been split up into two different trends. Number one, democratic socialism, and this was what Bernie Sanders, wanted to do. Democratic meaning that the system that works within the constitutional framework to elect socialists to office, meaning that it's still a democracy. The power still resides within the people, but basically the people are giving all of their control once they vote for somebody, for the government to basically control the majority of what's happening within our government. Governments usually only control some areas of the economy. Workers and businesses, employees own corporations and report to each other. And FDR kind of brought this socialist idea into the United States framework in 1933 when he created his New Deal. And then the other thing that's broken up into it is known as authoritarian socialism. This is the command economy socialism, where the central government controls basically the entire economy. They have their own leaders, okay, and they control what's going on and kind of are the hand that kind of moves everything. So we have democratic socialism. Democratic means we are still electing our leaders. Socialism means the government's controlling majority of where the money's going and the factors of production. Authoritarian socialism, the central government controls the entire government. There's no democracy, no power within the people. Okay? What are some benefits of capitalism? There's high values of individual freedom, room for economic growth. Socialism has an extensive intervention in people's personal lives. So they will take care of a lot of social issues. Capitalism is more efficient than the market system. What are some characteristics of a market system? So we talked about some of the characteristics that make up a market system. Okay. Some benefits of capitalism. The USA has a highly planned economic system. We have private firms. We have individuals. We have elected government officials to do the planning. In a communist system, okay, when we talk about it, central planners from the government do all the system and do all the planning. What are some problems with capitalism? Well, the main problem with capitalism is this, guys. People are going to fail. Therefore, there are going to be really rich people. There are going to be really poor people. Okay? When you have a socialist government, everybody's going to be the same. There's not going to be really rich. There's not going to be really poor. There might be different ends of the spectrum, but that gap is going to be shortened. Okay? Because of taxes and the government intervening in businesses. It is believed that there are not enough schools and museums provided by the government for the general public when it comes to capitalism, because capitalism is all about the businesses. The socialist side of it, the government's going to take from the businesses and give it back to the people. Okay, therefore, in our current socialist kind of way of doing it, they tax from the people and they put it into a lot of community-run programs, parks, schools, so on and so forth. All right, guys, that's enough. Make sure that you know kind of the difference of socialism, pure communism. You should know this already. Democratic socialism, authoritarian socialism, capitalism, okay, and some benefits and how the differences between all these are ran, okay? Any questions, please schedule a Teams meeting with me. Please shoot me a message through Schoology. Please do that. You guys are now going to go in and you guys are going to do what I want you guys to do today is very simple. It doesn't take a long time. It's called The Rise and Fall of the Soviet Union. Okay, now, much like your Adam Smith one, make sure that you answer the questions that are underneath the paragraphs. This question comes from this paragraph. This question comes from this paragraph. Pretty simple. Okay, make sure you don't miss this one. Okay, there's two questions in one. So if you want to answer on a separate sheet of paper, that's fine. Okay. What were Gorbachev's two sets of policies? Name and describe each policy. This is important. There's two of them. 1, 2, define, define. This is important. This is on your exam. Make sure you know that. Okay. And then finally, last but not least, name 3 ways that Gorbachev orchestrated the demise of the Soviet Union. 3 points. 1, 2, 3. This is going to be a total of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 points. Rise and fall of the Soviet Union. Make sure you guys do this. Turn it into me in a timely manner by the end of the day. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye.